Now, I'll get to the point that I'm making shortly. We live in a country with high unemployment. Africa, as a continent, has got high unemployment. And on the one hand, to be socially responsible, we have to pay decent wages. And we've got in South Africa very sophisticated labor law, far more protective of individuals than, for example, that exists in the United States. You can't just fire someone because you wake up and you want to get rid of people, or you need to downsize. There's a process. You have to negotiate. So we are looking to create employment on the one hand. On the other hand, we have to be globally competitive. Those two things are in contradiction to each other, certainly from an African perspective. With this as a background, the question is then, can striving for global competitiveness coexist with social responsibility? That's what I was asked to speak about. Many emerging market countries have great disparities between the haves and the have-not. Many also have high levels of unemployment and challenges in their educational systems. Job creation is one of the most critical social imperatives in my country and I believe in my continent. Because apart from the need to build thriving economies, there are inadequate social welfare nets in place. In the West, if you lose your job, you can go on social welfare. In Africa, generally, that is not the case. You lose your job, you have to go back to a rural area. Your family has to support you. It is not the same as in the developed economies of the world. And that means that we have to take job losses far more seriously, I believe, from where I come, than in the West. So if workers lose their jobs, there is nothing other than their personal savings or their families to sustain them. In the developed economies, social responsibility often means reducing carbon emissions and power usage and recycling as much as possible. In other words, the focus is mainly on the environment. My point is that as critical as these factors clearly are, the environment is important to all of us. In an economic environment where you have massive unemployment and AIDS has ravaged whole sections of our communities, our priorities might be a little different. Within the Printing Industries Federation of South Africa, our view is that global competitiveness and social responsibility are not mutually exclusive. In fact, we believe that being good corporate citizens and taking social responsibility seriously will actually enhance the global competitiveness of our industry. And there are several reasons for this view. Firstly, as jobs are created, the economy will expand and the domestic market will grow, whether you're in South Africa or Nigeria or even Zimbabwe. If you create jobs, your economy will start expanding again. This creates an environment where average household incomes rise and social stability improves. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we need to understand, hungry people are people who have to find a way to feed themselves in other ways. Africa is a different kind of environment from the United States or Europe. Secondly, as a country, it is necessary for us to redress the racial imbalances of the past. And although we have been a democracy now for 15 years, affirmative action in training and senior level appointments is still necessary. This also contributes to social stability and increasing average incomes. Thirdly, the so-called third world, particularly Africa, doesn't have a great track record as far as environmental awareness is concerned. We are actively involved with influencing the development of appropriate waste management and environmental protection legislation in my country. We see our role as influencing attitudinal change as part of our broader social responsibility. I want to just summarize what I've just said here. We had the American Secretary of State doing a tour through Africa recently. And Mrs. Clinton spoke about this huge market that Africa is and how important this huge market is. Ladies and gentlemen, it's only a huge market if the people have got money. Otherwise, it's a huge market of people buying chickens or trading in corn. It's not a huge market for packaging, and it's not a huge market for printing, unless we increase the income of the people. unless we actually create social stability and we create wealth. Then it will be a huge market. Then it will be a big opportunity, not only for ourselves in Africa, but for the rest of the world. And that's why I believe that we need to do something, and that's what, certainly in my organization, that is part of our vision for our country. If the printing industry, and I'm not talking about South Africa, I'm talking now as far as Africa is concerned, if the printing industry doesn't actively engage governments and society in general, we will find ourselves being portrayed as a part of the problem and not a part of the solution. It is in our interests to promote a sustainable and socially responsible industry. Ladies and gentlemen, I suppose that the answer to the question asked in the title of what I was asked to speak about this morning is obvious. But I believe that we need to embrace the changes that globalization has brought and use them to our advantage. We're not going to change globalization. It's a reality. So we have to use it to our advantage. We may lose some business to foreign competitors who are able to be more efficient in certain areas than we are. But generally, we become globally competitive by being domestically competitive. We need to stay as close and responsive to our customers as possible. We need to be innovative and fit in with their business needs, not expect them to fit in with ours. The way of doing business has changed. If we support fairness and economic development for our employees, if we encourage the efficient use of resources, and if we identify and exploit our own unique selling propositions and solutions, we will prosper. We need to embrace new technology and be willing to look for new markets. But as a famous South African golfer once said to me, change is the price of survival. And that is the truth. If we want to survive, we need to change. We are part of a global community, and if we ignore that, we do so at our peril. Our industry has always been at the forefront of change. Print is the original and most cost-effective information technology. You'll see that that's used by PIA, it's used by many organizations. In fact, I think PIA even registered that as a slogan. Print is the original IT, the original information technology. To read a book, a newspaper, or a magazine, you don't need a broadband connection. That's important in Africa. We don't have great broadband connections. Yes, there's increasing broadband connectivity coming to all of our countries, and South Africa has got huge optical fiber networks being put in throughout the country currently. But there are many, many people for whom clean water and a light bulb are all they want. They're not looking, they don't have PCs in their homes. They simply want electricity and clean water. We aren't there yet. We want to get there. We want our people to get there. But those things are confined to our major cities. We just need to get that message out to governments and consumers. It's my view that if we are not good global citizens, in other words, if we are not socially responsible, we will never be globally competitive in the long term. And Africa will simply remain isolated pockets of being good at what we do, but large areas where we are still not able to do that. The new global customer increasingly has requirements for suppliers in addition to the givens of quality and price. Quality and price is what every supplier, every customer wants. We will have to be responsive to these requirements if we are to prosper in a global market. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are from Africa this morning, what I've said possibly you may agree with, or at least be able to identify with. If you aren't, I hope that it might have opened your eyes to something. Africa has got huge potential. We have got great people. We have got friendly, hard-working people. But we need to develop, and I'm talking to us as Africans, we need to develop those markets. We need to develop our people to increase wealth so markets grow. If we don't do that, we will still not figure on the NPES's pie chart. We'll still be sitting down at 1% of the global market. I was quite pleased when I looked at that, and I saw that the global market was in the region of $700 billion. I was quite pleased because I know that, as I say, my members are contributing about just under $6.925 billion. So in the printing and packaging industry, South Africa is about 1%. But we can grow that. And Africa as a continent can do more to grow this industry. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Chris. That was great.